Early 20th century China resembled an old ship breaking apart in a storm. The imperial system had collapsed, the civil service exams abolished, and millennia of order disintegrated within a few years. What replaced it was not a clear new world, but a fractured transitional era. Warlords divided the land, foreign powers circled, and the people struggled in poverty and fear. Yet amid the ruins, new forces were stirring, young men returning from overseas, the rise of national capital, and the spread of modern education. Old beliefs fell, new convictions were born. This was a painful passage for an ancient civilization, transitioning from empire to nation-state. In this chaotic era, Chiang Kai-shek's figure gradually emerged, idealism and the desire for power intertwined in him, like two rivers twisting together, supporting yet colliding with each other. In his mind lay two paths. One, the oath of his youth, to defend the nation and uphold its dignity, the idealistic Chiang. The other, the allure of power, controlling the situation, consolidating his position, the pragmatic Chiang. Both ran parallel, constantly tugging at his inner self. Often he would sit alone in his study at night, candlelight flickering across maps and documents, asking himself, am I saving the country, or saving myself? From that point, ideals and power became inseparable, yet perpetually at odds, shaping the deepest psychological fissures of his life. Born in Shiko, Fenghua, Zhejiang, into a family of salt merchants, Chiang Kai-shek had access to a solid education. Yet he never adopted the luxury or sense of entitlement typical of old families. This upbringing planted the seeds of independence and stubbornness in his character. As a boy, he was disciplined, restrained, and silent. He often wrote in his diary, "Establish the nation through military might." Those simple words lay like embers deep in his heart, foreshadowing his future decisions and ambitions. His self-discipline and yearning led him to study in Japan. Military academy life was another baptism of discipline and order. Strict training, clear hierarchies, cold military logic. All of it shaped his later understanding of military and political governance, while planting the seeds of conflict between idealism and reality. Young Chiang could be radical and decisive. He even attempted to assassinate Gao Changjiang for revolutionary goals. That early audacity and ambition became both a tool and a psychological imprint, leaving him hypersensitive to betrayal. Upon returning to China, he joined Sun Yat-sen's revolutionary forces, rising to prominence as a key leader in the National Revolutionary Army. Victory in the Northern Expedition catapulted him into national attention. A military leader whose aura was woven from both idealism and power. Yet his relationship with Sun was not always smooth. Sun advocated cooperation with the Soviets and tolerance of communists, while Chiang harbored suspicion. After Sun's death, Chiang leveraged military authority and political skill to consolidate party power, eventually launching the 1927 purge that severed ties with the communists entirely. At Whampoa, when the campus fell silent at night, Chiang Kai-shek often wrote, under the flicker of a candle, a young commander dreaming of a nation yet to be built. Years later, that dream had turned into power, and the candlelight into the glow of his study lamps. Maps and orders now covered his desk, each decision heavy with consequence. He began to understand that power was never a gift, but a pledge. And every command, every act of control, demanded repayment in the currency of conscience. Soong Mei-ling's story was one of precise, elegant evolution. Born into Shanghai distinguished family, the third daughter of Song Jieshu, one of modern China's earliest westernized figures, she went to the US at 10, receiving a pure Western education, mastering etiquette, public speaking, and the language of politics. She carried both Chinese tradition and American confidence, graceful yet sharp. The Song sisters each had their destinies. Ailing loved money, Qingling loved the nation, and Mei-ling loved power. She understood its logic and the role women could play within it. In 1943, she addressed the US Congress in fluent English, becoming the first Asian woman on that stage. Her 3-minute speech reverberated with applause, her voice embodying China's dignity in wartime. Her elegance, composure, and intelligence forced Western reporters to view an Eastern woman with respect, not pity. On stage, she shone brilliantly. Off it, the flood of hunger, bombing and displacement went unseen. She knew that her voice preserved the nation's image, but could not reach the trembling hands or frostbitten faces on the battlefield. Elite education, polished manners, and impeccable dress created a barrier between her and the grassroots reality. Her brilliance cast shadows over the suffering below. Ascending the elite circles, she left unseen hardships behind her. In the political world she shared with Chiang Kai-shek. Morality and reality ran parallel, never intersecting. When Chiang met Soong, he was a commander of immense power, yet still yearned for spiritual recognition. Military control let him overlook the nation, but not his own solitude. He craved someone who understood his ideals and contradictions, his iron fist and vulnerability, a recognition he could not find atop the Tower of Power. To marry Mei-ling, he divorced his first wife and converted to Christianity. The union was both love and political calculation. Chiang needed the Soong family's networks. They needed a strong man to secure their legacy. Within this alliance he found spiritual support, not only a partner, but someone who resonated with his entwined ideals and power. Their love was both romantic and rational. In Nanjing, the Wartime trees Chiang planted stretched like a necklace, symbolizing his devotion. Mei-ling called herself a phoenix, saying only the Wartime tree can host a phoenix. The ritualistic elegance of their marriage carried both love and power, allowing a general in turbulent times a rare moment of spiritual refuge. The Wartime trees of Mei-ling Palace stood tall against the wind, leaves falling like rain, a temporal warning. Romance and power will someday demand repayment. Beyond marriage, they were closest allies and calm strategists. Chiang ruled reality with military might. Mei-ling commanded the world through her poise and rhetoric. Under their stewardship, the national government was gilded by ideals yet held together by compromise. During the war, the lights of Huangshan residence in Chongqing lit the night sky. Soldiers died in the mud of the battlefield, while the couple hosted tea atop the hill. Some called it a palace in wartime. Mei-ling's wardrobe held hundreds of cheongsams. Her smile dazzled Western cameras but blurred against the dust and despair of China's battlefields. She knew famine, death, and bombing firsthand. She understood that confronting sorrow alone could not mobilize the nation or move the world. Only elegance and image could earn dignity and support. Under the spotlight, she felt unprecedented control. Every gaze, every poised pause allowed her to maintain rhythm and strength amid chaos. Chiang increasingly lived through orders and documents, personally overseeing every action. To enforce discipline, he watched as his most trusted general took his own life, a grim spectacle that reinforced the inescapable weight of authority he carried. At night, he would stare at an old photo of himself attempting to assassinate Zhao Qingshan, a youth full of audacity, who had now become a man haunted by betrayal. Radical action and cautious fear formed a sharp contrast in his life, outlining his obsession with power and psychological fissures. Outwardly, they were viewed as China's emperor and empress. In reality, their solitude was unmatched. She traveled to the US fundraising. He prayed alone in Chongqing. Two souls, different in belief yet equally isolated, clung tightly to their shared fate. Beyond marriage, they were intimate allies and calm strategists. Chiang ruled with military precision, Mei-ling with persona and diplomacy. Their government was gilded with ideals, but supported by compromise. A fragile, brilliant palace hiding countless cracks beneath its glow. From the July 7th incident in 1937, Japan launched a full-scale invasion, pushing China to the brink of survival for 8 years. Beijing, Shanghai, and Nanjing fell. Millions of soldiers and civilians died. Railways, industries, and urban infrastructure collapsed. People were displaced. Chiang Kai-shek's government allocated scarce resources, commanded frontline forces, and established a wartime capital in Chongqing to maintain central authority. On the international stage, he sought allied support, balancing diplomacy and warfare to preserve China's survival and dignity. Post-war China did not see true peace. Conflict between the KMT and CCP escalated. Former revolutionary comrades became rivals. Chiang stood at a historical crossroads. He wanted to unify the nation and consolidate power. yet faced exhausted citizens, economic collapse, and mounting international pressure. Japan sought to exploit this, tempting China toward division. Forces suggested that concessions and local autonomy might bring short-term calm and personal safety. Chiang knew this path offered power, but led to historical condemnation. Splitting China would make him a millennia-long sinner. At night he sat alone, candlelight on maps, wrestling between idealism and politics. The peak of power and moral baseline often lay on separate lines. Ultimately, he rejected Japan's proposals, insisting on one China. This was not merely strategy, it was the final trace of his idealism. Caught between moral conviction and the harsh demands of power, his methods could be ruthless, his decisions cold. Yet he understood that the weight of history would not be diminished by political maneuvering. During this period, Soong Mei-ling remained a commanding presence on the international stage. She moved between the political salons of New York, London, and Washington, tirelessly engaged in diplomacy and fundraising. Her elegance and brilliance won Chiang Kai-shek invaluable global attention. Yet they also deepened the distance between her and the suffering masses of China. On stage, she was like a phoenix in full control. When the lights faded, her gaze lingered on her own radiance, unable to reach the distant cries of despair. Caught between the survival of the nation and the exercise of personal power, Chiang Kai-shek and Soong Mei-ling bore both the expectations of the world and the loneliness of their inner lives. During this period, their life trajectories gradually shifted from the glory of their prime to the isolation of their later years, the storms of history brewing in the shadows, leaving them with only the final moments of power and presence to grasp. In 1949, Chiang Kai-shek retreated to Taiwan, ending his rule over the mainland. Once a general who had dominated the nation, he could now only gaze across the strait to the homeland he would never return to. Power remained in his hands, but the China in his heart had become an unreachable memory. His later years in Taiwan were compressed into the cold solitude of meeting rooms and official documents. Even with authority intact, he could no longer alter the course of history or reclaim the empire he once ruled. Soong Mei-ling remained by his side until his death from illness in 1975. Their marriage endured with intimacy and trust, each serving as the other's deepest spiritual support. After Chiang's passing, Soong Mei-ling lived alone in the United States, facing the long echo of the years in solitude. Her later life, in contrast to her former radiance, became a quiet reflection filled with remembrance. She once stared at her old cheongsams, the style she had favored in Chongqing. The setting sun would stretch her shadow long across the floor, as if history itself were tugging at an unfinished dream. By the time the watang tree leaves blanketed Mei-ling Palace, Nanjing no longer bore the Chiang name. Ideals, power, love, and destiny were all sealed within the faded pages of history. They were each other's faith and each other's judgment. Looking back today, that old photograph still arrests the eye. He sits stern and imposing. She smiles composed and serene. In that moment, the entire glory, pride, and sorrow of the Republic of China seemed to crystallize into one final image. The faith of a generation, the price of a love, the elegy of an era.